to see how kids who love Lego and Harry Potter would be intrigued by the game. When it comes to the actual release date, information available online today is surprisingly inconclusive. I found dates ranging from March 21st to October 26, 2001. All of them do seem to agree, however, that it was not only the first Harry Potter video game released, but also the first licensed Lego video game ever released as well. Now, there had been Lego games before, but this marked the first time Lego worked with a third-party franchise. Seeing just how much Lego's video game business has grown today makes it quite a fascinating footnote to history that it all started with Harry Potter.
Super! I think Malfoy is beginning to regret his naughtiness now. Just once more!
2001 was a huge turning point for the Harry Potter franchise as the first film was released to the world along with a video game. The video game launched on the PC, Sony PlayStation, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance in November of 2001. Philosopher's Stone is the game many fans think of when remembering the origins of the Harry Potter series in video games. One of the most interesting notes about the first game is just how different the versions were. The PC game was developed by No Wonder, while Argonaut Games handled the PlayStation version. Aside from technical aspects such as resolution and frame rate, modern gamers would probably find it bizarre for a single title to play so differently across platforms. Not only did these titles play differently, they were built completely differently as well. The PC version put players in control of Harry after his arrival at Hogwarts. The game used a third-person perspective and had players learning new spells by attending classes and solving systems. Despite Hogwarts being somewhat missions. Even though the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance games were both developed by Kryptonite Games, they too played rather differently. The Game Boy Color title was an RPG and seemingly inspired by games like Pokemon and Final Fantasy. The GBA version was a top-down puzzle game instead. Overall, the games received fairly middling review scores, although there was a clear nod to the Game Boy Color version being the best, at least in the eyes of video game journalists. Given the popularity of the series as a whole, though, it's no surprise the game sold well. Philosopher's Stone was the top-selling PC game in the month of December 2001. In February of 2002, the NPD Group listed it as the third highest-selling PC game of the previous year with more than 800,000 copies sold. This was despite the fact that it didn't release until November. The game would go on to sell well over 1 million copies for PC.
You're not supposed to tell him that, stupid.
Doesn't matter. He won't get out of there.
Massive sales
Will he?
numbers of more than 8 million copies sold, which actually made it the 6th best-selling PlayStation title of all time. I was unable to find sales numbers for the Game Boy Color version, but the GBA version did quite well, selling just shy of 700,000 copies by August of 2006. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets released in November of 2002, once again alongside the film, and once again with multiple versions.
Wingardium Leviosa!
PC version, although this time they would also release for Lego as well. Argonaut Games tackled the PS1 version, EA UK worked on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox versions. Eurocom developed a version of the Game Boy Advance, which left Kryptonite with just the Game Boy Color version this go round. That's right, 5 different versions of the game, and honestly, even the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 versions had a few differences between them as well. For starters, the GameCube version was the only special feature that allowed players to access a secret room and connect to the Game Boy Advance version using a GameCube GBA link cable. And despite more technical power than the GameCube and Xbox, neither of those versions permitted players to roam freely across the grounds and to land anywhere using the light stick, which was possible on the PS2 version. Other than that, these console versions were very similar and featured a Hogwarts castle that provided a little more freedom than the PC game. Cards also made a return, as did DirectX TV. Here they also introduced a Lost Items bulletin board, which was found in the Gryffindor Common Room. These items were hidden in various locations throughout the school and along the Hogwarts grounds. For each item found, players were rewarded with a famous witch or wizard card. The PC version was a direct sequel to No Wonder's version of Philosopher's Stone. The graphic style and character models were mostly the same, although there was a definite improvement to the way the game controlled on mouse and keyboard. Some spells learned in the first game were retained, but players took classes to learn new spells as well. The puzzles and overall flow of the game were also improved compared to the first, and it once again played out very differently than the console versions. Argonaut's version for PlayStation can be looked at as a direct sequel to the Philosopher's Stone version of the game that they made for PS1. Some areas of Hogwarts were expanded upon, the same. They did introduce some new mini-games and other improvements. Kryptonite once again went with an RPG style for the Game Boy Color version, while Eurocom made an adventure-style, puzzle-driven game for GBA. Critics appeared marginally more pleased with Chamber of Secrets compared to Philosopher's Stone, but not as much. Most publications scored the GameCube and Xbox version slightly higher than the PS2 version, but this wasn't true across the board. It's also important to keep in mind there weren't nearly as many games posted then as there are today. To put it into perspective, Metacritic only has 8 scores for the PC version and only 6 for the PS2 version. Compare that to a recently released modern version, you'll see that the PS5 version has more than 100 critical reviews at the time of this recording. Sales for Chamber of Secrets were incredibly strong yet again. In fact, when all of the versions are combined, Reviews and Observer reports more than 9 million copies were sold. LEGO would also release LEGO's creator Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in 2002. Although a sequel to LEGO's creator Harry Potter wasn't developed by Cube Software worked on the project, and it was published by EA and LEGO Interactive. The sequel built upon the first game by including more models, worlds, and mini-games. With no Harry Potter film scheduled for release in 2003, that presented a unique opportunity for WB and EA that holiday season. Rather than releasing a title based on a book for a not-yet-released movie, they instead opted to release a spin-off game born of Harry Potter, Cup. Quidditch World Cup was a deep dive into a fan-favorite pastime of the Wizarding World. Even though there weren't any new movies that year, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire book was just prior to 2000. Of course, one of the standout scenes and world-building moments of this installment of the series was Harry attending the Quidditch World Cup. The game started out simple enough, with players choosing one of the 4 Hogwarts house teams and learning through a series of exhibition matches, challenges, and ultimately playing in the Hogwarts Quidditch Cup against the other teams. The Quidditch World Cup did a fantastic job with the small details like including actual names of players, students, fans, and residents. After winning the Hogwarts Cup, players unlocked the World Cup, and that's where things really got interesting. England, the United States, Japan, Germany, France, Australia,
so Crabbe and Goyle attacked you?
Spain, and
What's strange about that?
Malfoy wasn't with them. Sometimes he's not even visible on the Marauders map. Look!
You must be missing him. I mean, he can't just disappear, can he?
This meant that the team actually the team that would be crowned champion, which may not necessarily be the team with the most wins. Even though the gameplay was a radical departure from previous Harry Potter video games, critical reception was mostly the same, with reviews averaging around 70%.
Maybe Hermione's right.
The PC,
Maybe I should
GameCube,
forget about
Xbox,
Malfoy and concentrate on Slughorn.
But
how am I supposed to get to his memory? I don't even know what a Horcrux is. Ron!
Unsurprisingly,
Beautiful,
played
isn't
quite
it?
a bit differently.
The moon.
This version didn't review nearly as well, though, as the full-fledged
I can't stop
console
thinking
version.
about her, Harry.
With the incredible sales
love
numbers
her.
of the original release of
Do you
Philosopher's
think she
Stone,
even knows
it's
I
no
exist?
surprise WB
Well,
attempted
she's
to
been
capitalize
snogging you
on
for
the success
months.
for a new generation of
Snogging?
systems. In December
never snogged
2003,
Romilda.
developer Warhol
Romilda?
Games would release yet
Ron,
another version of Philosopher's
these
Stone, but
chocolates,
this time
they're from
for Sony's
Romilda Vane, they're full of
PlayStation 2,
love potion.
Nintendo's GameCube, and Microsoft's Xbox. This version reused many of the assets from 2002's console version of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and the gameplay is similar. Yet again, though, it proved to be quite a different experience from the PC and PS1 versions that came before. This remake had a story that followed the film much more closely, but reviewed slightly lower than the Philosopher's Stone
Romilda.
versions that preceded it.
Do you know
In the
Harry?
summer of 2004,
Can you
it was
introduce
back
me?
to a traditional
Yeah,
release,
she's,
with Harry Potter and the Prisoner of
she's in
Azkaban hitting
Slughorn's
theaters,
office.
and
Yes,
yet another
she's
movie
definitely
tie-in
there.
game
Follow
to
me.
release alongside it. No Wonder made the PC version, Kryptonite the Game Boy Advance version, and EA UK for the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox versions. All versions were natural progressions based on the games that
Hi,
came
Ron.
before.
Have
However,
you done
they
your
all had
patience
a fairly
homework?
big shift by featuring the trio of Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
I'm surprised you noticed, Ronald.
Games. In fact, all three were playable characters for the first time in the console versions, even
Don't mind
switched
him.
between the
He ate
three
some
at
love
will
potion.
for most sections
I'm
of
taking
the
him
game.
to
There are
Slughorn's
spells
office.
that are unique to
see
certain members of the
Romelda.
trio, which come into play when solving puzzles or trying to progress through certain levels. There are also some bizarre design decisions for the console version, such as the fact that Harry is the only character who can jump across chasms. Like the change of sequence console game before it, there were also moments where players needed to send headway for assistance. Both versions also have sequences where the player can ride Buckbeak. The PC version remains more focused on puzzles, whereas the console versions continue to be more of a third-person action-adventure game with puzzle elements sprinkled throughout. Birdie Bot Beans returned and were once again used to buy items from George, Wizard Cards, Chocolate Frogs, Cauldron Cakes, Honey Bombs, and several other items returned from this game as well. As for the GBA version, it is once again a traditional role-playing game. It did differ from the GBA games before it by opting for turn-based combat rather than the real-time combat of the previous GBA games. Although the Game Boy Color games before it did feature turn-based battles. Critical reviews of both versions once again hovered in the 70% range, and the PS2 version scored the best. The PC version came in at 67%. Despite the completely different gameplay, the GBA version was also met with middling review scores in the 70% range. Commercially, the games were another huge success, even selling 316,000 copies in the launch month alone. 2004 would also see the release of the first ever Harry Potter mobile game, titled Harry Potter Find Scabbers. The gameplay was rather simple. Players would search for Scabbers as he makes his way through an assortment of different mazes. Unfortunately, this game wasn't well received. IGN's review of the game said, quote, Harry Potter Find Scabbers isn't much fun to begin with, but when you consider the richness of the source material, it was disheartening and disappointing. Quote, despite the poor first attempt, it certainly wouldn't be the last Harry Potter mobile game. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire released in 2005 and saw quite a few changes compared to the previous core games in the series. For starters, No Wonder was no longer in the picture and did not develop a PC version. Instead, the PC version was developed by EA UK and was largely the same as the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox versions. The team-based mechanic of Prisoner of Azkaban was carried over here and expanded upon. The graphics started to shift even more to make the characters look like their movie counterparts. Perhaps the most disappointing change with Goblet of Fire is how it completely did away with the free-roaming gameplay from the first couple games. Instead, it was more action-focused, broken up into different levels as players competed in the Travis tournament, in addition to a handful of other scenes found in books and movies. And possibly as a result of these changes, players no longer control the game's camera.
I've been looking for you.
The PC version was
I
controlled
got you,
entirely by the
Leave me
keyboard.
alone.
No mouse input.
I was going to introduce me
On
to
the more
Romelda
positive
Vane.
side, Goblet of Fire brought multiplayer
I'll explain
co-op
later.
support to the series for the first time. This meant you could have friends take on the role of Ron and Hermione. Together, the trio could combine spells for more power. When playing alone, most levels gave players the option to pick one of their main characters, the exception being levels that involved tasks. Magic Pockets developed the game for the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS, while EA Fusion UK handled the PSP version. The GBA and DS versions were fairly similar, but neither were an RPG, as it had been the custom for at least one of the handheld versions in the past. The PSP version was also its own thing, however, it tried to be closer
sorry
to
to bother
the
you,
console
sir. I
versions
need some
than
help.
its Nintendo
Where is
handheld
she?
counterparts.
What's the matter with
Even
Wendy?
with these changes, critical
Weasley,
reception
sir.
for Goblet of Fire was
Romelda.
mostly the
That's a
same as
pretty name
previous
for a
games
pretty
in the
witch.
mainline series.
He's
hovering around
accidentally
an average
taken
of
some
68
love
to
potion.
70%.
I see the
Most
problem.
longtime fans of
Come
the
in,
series
I've got the
agree,
necessary
though,
ingredients
Goblet
here in
of
my
Fire
bag.
was a clear drop
It's not a
from the
difficult
first games
antidote.
before.
I think we'd better
Harry
make it
Potter and the
quickly.
Order of the Phoenix restored the open world exploration from the original three games and made some good attempts to please fans of the series, even going as far to involve a fan council to assist during the development process. As part of the game's open world nature, players could earn discovery points as they made their way through Hogwarts and use spells to interact with objects. Environmental spells include Accio, Pulso, Guardian Leviosa, Incendio, Arrow, and Seductive. Wizard duels also made a return, the finale even putting players in the shoes of Albus Dumbledore for his epic duel against Lord Voldemort and the Department Mysteries. Much of the game, however, players only control Harry, which was a departure from the previous adventures that
Very well, my boy.
Speaking of Dumbledore, Dumbledore's armies also feature prominently throughout the game. Combat spells include Stupefy, Expelliarmus, Protego, Victim Symphony, Levicorpus, Trigus Totalis, and Expecto Patronum. Author J.K. Rowling also created She also helped with rules for various Wizarding mini-games that appeared, like Gobstones and Explosion Step. The advancements in video game technology were even able to scan faces of certain characters in movie Lynch. Layout and appearance of Hogwarts was also based on the movie version of the castle. EA UK developed the game for PC, Mac, PS2, PS3, Xbox, and the Nintendo Wii. The most popular version thanks in large part to
Castor oil. At least it doesn't smell as bad as it tastes.
The Wii was an insanely big seller. While the overall feel and lore of the game proved to be close to the source material, maybe more so than any Harry Potter game before it, the gameplay itself left much to be desired. The PC, PS3, and 360 versions certainly had the best graphics, but the Wii version...
Steady on there, Harry, my boy!
Despite the improvements in fan involvement, however, many reviewers felt the gameplay was too easy and repetitive, which resulted in most scores falling below 70% pretty much across all platforms. The DS and GBA versions, which were developed by Visual Impact...
Look lively there!
Well,
No nodding off on the
by
job.
Rebellion Developments. And for the first time in the series, somewhat surprisingly, Jolly
Isn't that
games
quite
actually
enough smoke?
particularly with strong lighting effects. It also featured wizard duels, fights with Hedwig, and plenty of stealth sequences throughout Hogwarts. Many felt this to be an incredibly solid attempt at making a mobile game worthy of the Harry Potter name. And that wasn't the only mobile Harry Potter game released in 2007. EA Mobile also released Harry Potter Mystery Magic for mobile phones. The mobile game was still in their infancy in 2007, which is probably why Mastery Magic was simply a collection of mini-games, 8 to be exact. That being said, the games themselves weren't that bad. They featured classes from the Wizarding World such as Divination, Care of Magical Creatures, and Mythology. Unfortunately, the game suffered from the same as many games in the series by being too repetitive and too easy. Once the levels get their ordinary difficult level exam, which did help reduce the challenge somewhat. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince were one games were hopeful the series would
Extract
continue
of
to
Gurdy
go in a
root.
direction after the changes that were made from Order of the Phoenix. Free-roaming Hogwarts, Quidditch, and wizard duels all made a return, however many found the gameplay repetitive yet again. You would primarily control Harry, although there are segments featuring Ron and Ginny as well. Many of the spells from the previous game returned, new ones were added. For spell casting, and also added the remote functionality to making potions. Given the storyline of Half-Blood Prince, it only made sense for potions to be featured more prominently, and that's certainly the case across all versions of the game. There are numerous potion brewing segments, including one with Phoenix Felicis. The production value continued to increase as characters looked more like their movie counterparts than ever before thanks to advancements in voice and hardware at the time. Many of the movie voice actors also returned. Red, Ron, Bonnie Wright as Jenny, Draco, and plenty of others. Unfortunately, the animations were rough, and at times bad enough to actually pull you out of the experience. And unfortunately, the entire game was in 3.5 hours. Overall, Half-Blood Prince didn't innovate enough to see much critical success, as most reviewers scored it slightly lower than its predecessors. The Nintendo DS version used stylus controls and wasn't nearly as well received by reviewers, scoring a 4.4 out of 10 from IGN. The PSP version was scored similar to the DS version. The mobile game once again proved to be a pleasant surprise, like Order of the Phoenix before.
Almost there! Keep up the good work!
Top-notch with detailed character sprites and high-quality animation. Most of the gameplay involved basic fetch quests where characters needed help finding items within Hogwarts. Then players were
I think you should clear that smoke, my boy!
Wizard duels helped to break up the fetch quests, but while potions and Quidditch were featured so prominently in the console version, they don't appear at all in the mobile version. Harry Potter spells capitalizing on the rapidly growing mobile games market, and this one was all about transforming your iOS device into a wand. After choosing a wand,
Almost there! Keep up the good work!
random, surprisingly, you would start to learn the game's multi-level spells. The spells were cast through a series of different hand gestures. It's all 14 were mastered, and there's no on to wizard rules. There are 4 apprentices in the copy of the game. In 2010, it's hard to believe that nearly a decade has passed since the Chamber of Secrets of the Creator game. WB and LEGO partnered up once again for LEGO Harry Potter. This proved to be one of the standout games of the series, and still beloved by fans today. The LEGO formula for video games was already well established by 2010, and that formula lent itself perfectly to the Harry Potter franchise. The game's focus on collecting, exploring, solving puzzles, and overall sense of humor proved to be a huge hit with fans. Spellcasting was also made very simple through
All right, my boy. A little tonic for your nerves.
What happened to me?
Love potion.
I feel really bad.
Drink this. And a little pick-me-up for you too, Potter.
This certainly helped LEGO Harry Potter to avoid the too short complaints.
Professor, help him!
What? Poisoned? He's been poisoned?
Diagon Alley, and of course, Hogwarts. While the game does feature a number of
Abazor!
levels,
Brilliant
it also
thinking!
open for
You've just saved Wemby's life, my boy!
The entirety of the game can be played alongside a friend thanks to the game's split-screen mode. This alters the story somewhat as every mission is played with a friend. The game also featured very good uses of College's version of dark magic, which was required for solving some of the puzzles. LEGO creator Harry Potter Years 1 through 4 appeared on a staggering number of platforms, including Android, iOS, Nintendo DS, and PSP, which were developed by TT Fusion. Traveler's Tales made the primary version of the game for PC, Mac, Nintendo Wii, PS3, and the Xbox 360. Double 11 would later port the game to PS4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. The console version was overwhelmingly one of the best-reviewed Harry Potter games of the entire franchise, with a Metacritic score of 80.
Pity you can't make a
Deathly
potion to
Hallows
help
Part
Ron with
1
Lavender
also
Brown.
released in 2010,
It was lucky
and
you
it
thought of
too
that
was a
bazaar last
standout
night,
game in
Harry.
the series.
It was lucky there was
but
one in the
for
room.
all the wrong
Come on,
reasons.
it's almost time for the
It did
match to
release
get
alongside
Hufflepuff.
the movie.
I'll see you at
and
the
in an
Quidditch
effort
match.
to appeal to its aging core audience, EA completely altered the style of its flagship Harry Potter movie tie-in game. Deathly Hallows Part 1 changed the Harry Potter formula from an action-adventure with a focus on exploration and puzzle solving into a third-person shooter. The game heavily relied on a cover system, clearly inspired by the likes of shooter titles like Gears of War. The game even emphasized landing headshots and upgrading to stronger spells. There was no free roaming, no Quidditch, sadly, Hogwarts. Although the latter is a result of the new storyline, which took the trio out of their usual setting. The fight against Voldemort entered its final chapter. Instead, players fight numerous Death Eaters, Snatchers, giant spiders, dragons, Doxies, Whomping Willows, and Dementors. Somewhat hilariously, the game uses the Elixir of Life as a healing item, which fans know was actually the potion Nick
Incendio!
the Sorcerer's Stone to extend his life. The decision to go more action-oriented with Deathly Hallows was certainly understandable. However, its execution failed due to the messy narrative style and the imprecise gameplay mechanics. Side missions often served no purpose other than to extend the gameplay length, and they completely broke up the storyline that players actually wanted to know about. There were stealth sections along the way which tried to break up the action, but unfortunately, both fans and critics alike are nearly unanimous in their disdain for Deathly Hallows Part 1, and Part 2 for that matter. The review scores across the board were the lowest of the series, with a Metacritic score of 37 out of 100 for the PC version. The Nintendo DS version was once again completely different and focused primarily on puzzle gameplay. As a result, it did see slightly more favorable review scores. The mobile version of the game proved to be another quality title, once again complete with outstanding visuals and a strategic combat system. Pocket Gamer gave it a silver award and noted, quote, "The brilliant atmosphere, challenging combat, and superb storytelling are a magical recipe that any potions master would be proud of." Quote, and although it wasn't a traditional video game per se, Screen Life Games also published a mobile version of
Wingardium
Scenic
Leviosa!
for iOS in 2010. The game featured HD clips from the first 6 movies and included a number of mini-games to test the experience. In 2011, EA released what should have been an epic series that built upon all the titles that came before. To their credit, EA did hear the complaints on Part 1 and certainly attempted
I'll have to
remedy
find
that
another
for
one.
Part 2. But unfortunately, the result was another disappointing entry in the Harry Potter series. On the positive side, EA attempted to tell the story in a linear fashion that followed the movie more closely than Part 1 by not including those seemingly random, unnecessary side missions, and went back to a spellcasting system that mapped spells to the face buttons. They also added sequences with more playable characters in an attempt to capture the collective efforts of wizards fighting on Harry's side throughout the series and in the Battle of Hogwarts.
Hey, Nick!
Playable characters included Harry, Ron,
Lead your
Hermione,
team to
Ginny,
victory
Neville,
on the
and
Quidditch
Seamus,
pitch.
McGonagall, and Molly Weasley. Unfortunately, the overall gameplay and progression once again suffered with boring level designs and wave after wave of Death Eaters to fight. The game also proved to be another short experience that could be beaten in around 3 hours. All in all, it was a disappointing conclusion, even by the mediocre standards of the movie tie-in games that came before it. This time round, even the mobile version was somewhat of a disappointment. GameLoft handled development.
Is that a crest over there?
The game suffered as a result of this change. The graphics and animations were praised yet again, but the gameplay fell flat. Pocket Gamer said, quote, "But when it comes to play itself, and the beguiling plot that rests heavy upon it, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is neither engaging enough to mop up those
Good morning. Time for breakfast, I'd say. Oh, I'm so hungry.
For Harry Potter fans, Deathly Hallows Part 2 wasn't the only Potter video game to release in 2011. Traveler's Tales was back with the sequel to its first LEGO Harry Potter game. LEGO Harry Potter Years 5 through 7 covered the events from Order of the Phoenix all the way to the series conclusion
Good
in Deathly
morning.
Hallows.
Time for
The game once
breakfast,
again
I'd
delivered
say.
classic LEGO
Oh, I'm
features,
so
flavorful
hungry.
fun yet simple mechanics, and a plethora of extras to unlock. Although some scenes are cheap, movies often for comedic effect, LEGO games did a great job at including the most iconic moments throughout Harry's final years at Hogwarts, including the battle at the Department of Mysteries, Dumbledore and Harry's fight against Nick Fury in the cave, and of course, his final confrontation with Voldemort himself. Like Years 1 through 4, LEGO Harry Potter Years 5 through 7 remained one of the best reviewed Potter games to date. Aggregate scores in the high 70s to low 80s depending on the platform. The DS and PSP versions were both scaled back versions of the console games. As a result, they didn't review as well as most scaled. Following the release of Deathly Hallows Harry Potter Years 5 through 7 in 2011, the franchise entered a new era for the series as no other books or movies were on the horizon. In 2012, WB released what can best be described as experimental titles, heavy on gimmicks, with Harry Potter for Microsoft Connect, Wonder Vision, Spells for PlayStation 3, and then Wonder
Boiled
Potions,
beetles.
also
Boiled, boiled,
Harry Potter
boiled.
Connect was an
Yes,
exclusive
Dave,
title
like
for the
that,
Xbox
Dave.
360 and unsurprisingly required the Connect accessory. Spells were performed with physical gestures and verbal incantations. This game was clearly geared toward a younger audience considering its actively tiring controls and short overall length. Book of Spells seemed to fare a little bit better with critics. The title actually came about as a result of a partnership between J.K. Rowling's Pottermore website and Sony Computer Entertainment. The game was developed by Sony's London studio and even gave users the option to link the game
I hear
to their
Weasley's in the
Pottermore
hospital.
accounts, which would
Yes,
then in turn
he's-
match the player's
Then you'll need a
wand
new
and
keeper,
Hogwarts
and
house
as I
from
was
their
best in the
Pottermore
trials, I'll
account.
see you in the
As
end.
far as the actual gameplay, Book of Spells was an augmented reality experience that was exclusive
Ron
to
was
PlayStation
best at the
and took
trials.
advantage of the iToy
We're
and
stuck with
PlayStation
you.
Move accessories. Like the Wii Remote before it, the Move controller was a natural fit to simulate wand motions. Through augmented reality with the iToy, the Move controller itself appears as a wand on the TV screen. The title, Book of Spells, is actually inspired by the text written by Miranda Goshawk in the series. In what is seemingly a common theme in Harry Potter games, the overall experience ended up being rather short and not worth the price of a full release. Critics did praise the mechanics of the game and its better use of to help you clear the puzzles. The game is free to play, but does feature some at the time of this video Wizarding World mobile game that just recently...
You join us today just as the match between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff begins! And that was a great save! The opposition seeker hasn't seen the snitch though. Ah, now he has, and the chase is on. Oh, this is a physical match. Hufflepuff score! And they've left the stadium.
Look out! That's great, Harry! Look on!
The rival seeker is back and means business. Nice move! Hufflepuff score! And Harry has seen the other seeker off. Ow! That looked like it hurt. Fantastic! Gryffindor has their star player in the match today. Wow, they've dived down into the trench. Good defensive flying. They're both doing really well. This is so exciting. That's a goal. Gryffindor needs to concentrate to win. The rival seeker is back and means business. The action is heating up along the ravine. The snitch is firmly in his sights. Great control. And Harry has seen the other seeker off. Yeah, they're heading back into the stadium. Excellent flying. Brilliant stuff for the keeper. The snitch is firmly in his sights. The opposition seeker hasn't seen the snitch though. Great control! That leaves Potter with an advantage. Arsenal take the lead! And they've left the stadium! The rival seeker is back and means business. The action is heating up along the ravine. The switch is firmly in his sights. Great stuff! And Harry has seen the other seeker off. Look! They're back in sight now! He is stringing together some nice moves. The switch is firmly in his sights. Well done, Harry! Gryffindor are edging ahead! And they've left the stadium! The rival seeker is back and means business. The action is heating up along the ravine. The switch is firmly in his sights. Oh, well done! And Harry has seen the other seeker off. Yeah, they're heading back into the stadium. His swift reactions have paid off. Safe hands from the keeper. The switch is firmly in his sights. The opposition seeker hasn't seen the snitch though. And the snitch is caught!
Cut it in a way that you really can't tell, but they're there. If you look closely enough, she's wearing false teeth in that last scene to make her more
brilliant.
Hermione-like.
Well done, everyone!
Told you I should be in goal.
Ron will be back from hospital soon. Then he'll be back in goal.
Yeah. Sorry, McLagan.
On the first day,
well played, everyone.
Actually sunk in that I'm playing Harry Potter. This is pretty many wrong. This is real life.
Early on in the process, I felt that the picture needed to be purely British, and so the entire casting process began with thousands casting tapes we received, and then we met every potential child actor, any kid who had
Tell
done
me
a
again
school
how I broke
play
up with Levin.
and wanted to be in Harry Potter.
Don't get me wrong, I'm bloody thrilled we did.
I was about 9 when I started auditioning.
She seems
I was
put
already
out.
a very big fan of the books.
Don't you remember anything from that night?
On my school that,
Oh, honestly,
there
Ron.
were auditions for Harry Potter.
It's not my fault.
School.
I was poisoned.
My school teacher called Mr.
Must be a
Hancock,
side
who's now
effect.
left.
Well,
Got
you're not
I
the
think
only
a
one
note,
out of
a
hospital.
letter saying
Katie
if
Bell
there's
is
any
back.
kids in school
I
that
saw
you
her in the
think-
Great Hall.
could
Now
act
we can
in
find
Harry
out who
Potter
gave her that
films.
necklace. She can
Do you
tell us who
mind
cursed
auditioning?
her.
And then I had to go through a lot of auditions.
When I was reading the books, I always felt quite a connection to Ron.
I was watching Newsround, and they told us how you could audition for the film. And they said that you could send in a form of photograph of yourself. So I did that and sent it in there. A month went by, and still nothing happened. So I was on the internet and found out this one boy sent in a video of himself reading out a little script from the book. So I put together this.
Is it true that Katie Bell is back?
She has returned from Fishmongers and she's not the worse for wear, I'm happy to say. She's in the Great Hall.
The ginger people that sort of look quite similar to me, so it was quite scary as well. Because I've never auditioned before. It was quite a new thing as well.
We narrowed down each role to about 4 or 5 kids on the screen. So in terms of Emma Watson, she was phenomenal. The camera loved her. She had Hermione's sense of humor. She was sharp as a whip for an 11-year-old girl.
We had a couple of screen tests where I had to learn lines. No, I don't say they were hard. Maybe they were quite enjoyable, actually.
Seeing Emma Watson's screen test, we were all in agreement. Skyland's nice. Fred enjoyed his presentation. Rupert Weasley. Same sort of situation here. He immediately popped off the screen. Rupert is a very shy kid, but he had this devilish, mischievous quality, and he had a face that I've never seen before. I mean, he was just unique, and his face was a well of all these emotions. He had a wonderful sense of humor, but also a real sense of soul. He really felt like he was one of the Weasley children, and we all fell in love with him.
So we sort of found our role and Hermione, but we were becoming increasingly nervous because we had a film called Harry Potter 1999 before we had a director. And it was quite scary because here we were in July and we were shooting in September and we didn't have Harry.
There was a sense of pressure because everybody was
Here
talking
we are
about,
at
the
your
press was
chosen
writing about who's going to play
destination.
Harry Potter. The studio was constantly on the phone with us. Have you found him yet? Have you found him yet? Our casting
Give me a
director was
moment.
going
I know you're going to ask,
crazy
but
trying to
I don't
find
know
him.
who
It was
cursed
interminable, you know, looking
I've
and
tried
looking
to
and looking
remember,
and
but
not
I
finding.
just
After we had looked at
can't.
countless tapes and seen countless kids, I remember popping in a tape of David Copperfield. And I saw Dan's scene, and I thought, this kid really has the potential to be Harry Potter. But there was really a general reluctance from the parents.
My mum and dad both went, no, you know, that's far too much of an upheaval of his life, so he you know, that we can't let that happen.
And one night I went to the theatre with Steve Clovis.
David Heyman was sat in the row in front of us at a production of a play called Stones in His Pockets.
I looked up and there was Alan Radcliffe.
Confess what you did, Malfoy. Tell me what you're planning.
I said, oh, how are you? Great. And then next to him was Marcy, his wife, and the boy at the end was his son, Daniel. So I went, sat down in the row in front, and I paid very little attention to the play. I was always looking over my shoulder at the boy behind, and he just had this quality, which was an old soul in a young body.
And I just David Heyman turned around to where was on. I was like, and then in the interview, he came up and my hands Steve Close came up. They introduced themselves.
He saw it as a sign, like I don't believe in that kind of stuff, so he took it as a sign. It was like a fact to it. I remember I wasn't always got to see that dragon egg in the first film, and I was going to
Dan's screen test was amazingly charming and soulful, and he was inexperienced as an actor, but there was one thing that Dan had that you couldn't teach anyone, which was this sort of haunted quality. I just saw it in his eyes at the serious moments, and that was the moment I think that we all felt when we saw that screen test to fire Dan.
Dad comes in and says he just
I know, I tried the patterns.
So we ended up with our three. I don't know.
Three of them together were just
but I still didn't know who got the part. And then when it was announced we got the part, it was properly.
This is Dan and Rupert on the day that they got the job.
Just leave me alone, Potter.
We bought all three of them here. They came
Try to go into a great big just came up
and the girl, because he called everything in your names.
It looks like he's been
children for around 4 hours a day. That's not very much.
Cruci! Section 7!
The schedule is longer.
You know, the longest.
Don't touch me! Don't you dare touch me!
Suddenly we were on for 11 months.
We need to get you to the hospital.
I'll never forget just walking onto that set and kind of the middle of nowhere in Northern England and just thinking,
where did you learn that spell?
Because, I mean, like, you got the big steam train.
It was in a library book.
Liar! You are to gather all your school books, all of them, and bring them to me here immediately.
Without, you know, like most films last about 6 weeks, not 9 months.
So, I gave Ron's book to Snape instead.
And you used a spell you didn't recognise on Draco.
I thought it
I didn't mean to. He was trying to curse me, and
by.
I just.
You have to get rid of the book.
Walking onto a big film set
I know,
is a
just wait
scary
and
thing if you're expected to do something when they shout "Go now." As an adult, it doesn't get any less scary than the first day.
If you want to conceal something, this is where you come. Close your eyes. There. Now no one will find it. Harry. I've got a secret too.
Right now, first years this way.
Robbie Coltrane's chose idea because we wanted somebody to play Hagrid who we knew could be tough and dangerous, but at the same time.
So did you and Ginny do it?
Was warm and vulnerable and very
like
funny.
The book?
And Robbie is all those things.
Somewhere in the room of requirements.
Follow me.
Even I don't know.
There was just no question of not doing
Well,
it.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, using an untested spell on someone.
I know.
At least you can concentrate on your proper mission for Dumbledore. You haven't had much luck so far, have you?
Class, listen to me. Welcome to your first flying lesson.
Maybe luck is what it will take.
Over the broom.
For the flying lesson, I remember saying action, and half of the kids started performing. The other half of the kids are staring into space. We had to stop, and I said, you know,
time
action
I got lucky.
means we start shooting. And I thought to myself, oh my, this is the beginning of a very long shoot.
So Peter, this is everybody's moving on action. Rufus, go to your left. Other left.
I don't think any of the kids will disagree with me when I say that they were extremely inexperienced in terms of being in a film set and doing film acting.
I think I'll take a walk to the herbology greenhouse.
You need to find Slughorn, Harry.
Just as meticulous casting for students as the other
Trust
roles.
me, I know what I'm doing.
One of the great things was
at
when
least
we were
Felix
auditioning,
does.
especially with children, you didn't have to explain any of the characters because they knew them better than I did.
I was just such a fan of the story. I wanted to dress up like a wizard, I wanted to go to Hogwarts, and I knew the best way to do that would be to get a part in the film. And it was nothing to do with my career at the time, it was just a little boy wanting to be in Harry Potter. When I first started, we shot a scene where Neville broomstick takes off. I read it in the script, but I don't know, I had no idea what to expect. I'd never been to my life.
Hold on, let's start at the beginning. Still rolling. Split your hand. Look to your right, look down.
To come and have stunt department put you in a harness and strap you to a broomstick and fly around on a roller coaster type of thing. And they call it work. It was brilliant. I remember the first time when we went on location, it was to Panic, and we were, that's really what I got. I mean, we were messing around all the time. Just imagine having a massive group of 11-year-olds just running about trying to keep them controlled. Just feel bad for the people. They're trying to make a film, and we thought we were on a holiday. We were having a great time. My great lament is that we don't really do many locations anymore.
There's a great deal more locations in on the line in 142 than there is in 4, 5, 6 and 7. That's the cusp. In the beginning, the timeline you couldn't possibly realize. The first person inspired was Stuart Craig, because this world has to be created.
Honestly, your first reaction is fear. I thought, oh my god, how can I possibly do this?
Starting with Stuart Craig was one of the best decisions that we made on those pictures, and Stuart's just a genius.
You think you're so clever, attacking Draco like that?
He was going to use Cruciatus on me.
Now we're going to use Stupefy on you.
You really don't want to fight me
Joe
tonight.
Rowling had loads of questions, masses of questions. This was in fact her layout drawn in the hotel design table of Hogwarts. It was the most terrific.
Back over here. He's done something. I can't hit him. Oh, get him.
Okay, cut.
Cinematic, but also David Heyman was a wonderful collaborator and very passionate about the film. I think that's why David nothing else on mind.
It was incredibly good to me. I think he respected my respected that part of the respected Joe Rowling had a very good I learned an awful lot.
You won't be so lucky next time, Potter.
David and I
I
had
don't
the
need
same
luck
vision
to
for the
beat
film.
you.
And that vision being that the first film was more of this wonderful sort of rich version of Hogwarts, this storybook world that we were creating. And as we got into Chamber of Secrets, the facade starts to chip away a little bit, and we got darker with each film.
That question of what is this world, what does it look like, you always start with a novel. Because J.K. Rowling talks about the great antiquity of the world, I immediately thought, what exists from that era? Well, there were bits of Oxford and bits of Cambridge, some of those colleges, and also Gothic European cathedrals.
We were able to go to various churches and universities throughout England and create the whole world.
The creating of the castle carried with it this inherent problem of mixing real locations with bits that we have designed. Given that real locations are often disappointing, they're full of bits that don't quite fit the story that you're trying to tell. So it's the blending of these two worlds, and I found that very difficult, and I think in some respects I have to say we failed. And I'm thinking specifically of the exterior of Hogwarts. When it was all put together, it didn't amount to a really successful, iconic silhouette, which is you want it to work on this kind of simple level. What has happened since then, on all subsequent movies, we have slowly improved the silhouette of those things. We've taken away some of the real locations.
Alec was a featured part in one and less. So Stuart has reshaped and rebuilt Hogwarts as the films have developed to become.
That's a venomous tentacular.
Merlin's beard.
Its leaves are quite valuable, aren't they?
Yes, I'm not interested in selling it, of course. My interest is purely academic. Not that this specimen would fetch many gallons.
Have you tried using a dragon dung fertilizer?
But this is
think
important.
that would work? Oh, yes. I have a feeling it will.
In the early days, I had to find a way wrangling these kids to deliver some sort of performance because they couldn't have been any greener.
Sloth brain.
It's a lot harder than everyone thinks. And there are 50 billion trillion million things going on at the same time that you have to think about, like hitting your marks, getting your line right at the right time, making sure you step into the light so that the face doesn't shadow you, all that kind of stuff.
He's gone? Now? But this is important. This is about the Philosopher's Stone.
When you find out he's gone, this is the worst thing that's going to happen because that means you're dead.
In the first movie, I always, laughed and said we should put a camera on Chris because what the kid's performance really was a reflection of what he was doing, what he was bringing out.
This is sad.
Should we go from he's gone? He's gone? But this is important. This is about the Sorcerer's Stone. Okay. He's gone?
Chris was so wonderful. He often had to chin up Dan. Rupert, stop smiling.
No, don't smile.
Emma, look this way.
You guys should look at each other after he's gone.
Okay.
Somebody said that the difference between children and children on a set is that children must actually do what you tell them to do.
Keep those eyelids open! It was Snape, which means he knows how to get past Fluffy. And with Dumbledore gone...
Good afternoon.
Unwritten. So fantastic, I was freaked.
You want to be careful. People will think you're up to something.
It's not really having to remind myself that it was... But it was terrifying.
That is great. Alan Rickman, to me, was always Snape because Joe Rowling showed me some early drawings. She'd done a sketch of Snape. It looked just like Alan Rickman. He was a little reluctant because he's done this particular type of villain in the past, so he didn't want to be typecast as this villain. So David and I took Alan to dinner to convince him he had to play the role. And I remember the car ride through London with David driving, with Alan sitting in the front seat, me sitting in the back, and David almost got in a car accident. And I remember saying, David, don't kill us before Alan says no. Because we just expected him to say no, but for some reason, 2 days later he came back and said yes.
I think I have much choice in the matter. Lots of godchildren and nephews and nieces. I'm not only excited, I think insistent.
He knows how to get past Fluffy.
When you see this...
Wakey, wakey!
See all of these huge mechanics and the lights and everything, you're just going to watch a close-up on two little boys and a girl's face, telling the central story unless that reads. The film won't work.
Dan, remember that you keep your head up. Rupert, don't smile. And Emma, put your head up forward. Action!
The problem in the early days, and the problem all the kids had, was this sense of total delight in being there, so they could never stop smiling, even if it was a serious scene.
And action!
I remember Alan Rickman, the first one told me to relax my face and just not think of anything.
Hurry, hurry! Time and potions wait for no man!
Enjoy.
Take 10. Take cover. 3 camera. Sit camera. Set and action.
In the early days, you might do 10 takes. You might be lucky to get one you really wanted once. Then they might have to go off to school and you may not get it again. So we would run 3 or 4 cameras.
Hey, camera. Okay, guys.
It was important for me to always have a camera on one of them in case one of them was coming down off of a chocolate rush or they lost
Look
their
lively there!
tired,
No nodding off
on
from the job.
And guys, you're interested. Rupert, you shouldn't be laughing at the end when you find out Dan actually go by Snape.
And the key was for cinematographer John Seal was shooting multiple cameras because I never knew when the kids were going to deliver the performance that I needed.
Stone.
So if you look at the first film, you see, it's very cutty. In other words, we cut to a close-up of a kid, and then I cut away to someone else. We were incapable of getting an entire scene in context. So John's philosophy of shooting 3 cameras basically helped me to obtain a performance here and a
Keep
performance here.
those eyelids open!
It's almost documentary style, and John really knew that. And I had always admired his work, and this was a really golden opportunity for me to work with him.
The overall look of the film that Chris and I talked about was retaining the magic of Hogwarts, and then, of course, the adventures within it. We wanted the drama that is written into the books. We didn't want to lose that. We didn't want to make it too sort of glossy and over. So it was a very delicate balance between making it a reality film, a magical film, and I hope we've done it.
Amazing.
All right, guys, I want everyone to focus on Professor McGonagall. This is everything she
Wakey, wakey!
What you needed from McGonagall was someone that you were intimidated by, but someone who had a real sense of warmth and heart. And that's exactly who Maggie is. And I thought this is perfect for McGonagall.
And move, Maggie.
You meet her in the beginning of the film. She's in the scene where they're walking up the stairs, and she was intimidating. I mean, she was intimidating to the crew because she's so smart, she's so brilliant. And the kids could sense that. But that was good. At that point, she was the disciplinarian.
I have to say, a lot of good ideas came from Dame Maggie from our first fitting. She wanted to be Scottish. Her name was Scottish, so the whole idea of making her witch's hat more like a Scottish tam.
Look lively there!
She had
No
some great ideas.
nodding off on the job.
I tried to keep all the kids really classic British boarding school. Funnily enough, J.K. Rowling said that the kids did not wear uniforms. So we ended up testing Daniel in regular clothes with a wizard gown and uniforms, and everybody wore uniforms.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Devin, take a little tiny step to your right. Good. Excellent. Good.
No. Okay, there you go.
I was really going for less of a contemporary look because I always wanted the film to have some sort of timeless quality. So their wardrobe, I remember their wardrobe test dressing them as adorable little English school children, and they just.
You are doing very well, my boy.
Tom was probably, out of everyone in those early days, the most experienced actor.
I'd done a few films before and a few TV things, and I was purely up there because my agent had said you should go.
Did you read the books to start?
No idea. I just went to audition for it, and everyone was talking about it.
I remember one of the first things they asked in the interview was, what is your favourite scene in the book? And there was a row of us, about 7 of us, and of course I hadn't read it, so I just guy next to me said, oh, bring books, I love the Trolls. Same as this guy, yeah, I love the Trolls, they're brilliant. And then straight away, Chris sort of straight internal laugh, so that could have helped.
At one point, when we were trying to find who's going to play Harry Potter, I thought Tom was so good, let me put some makeup on him and put a scar on him and a black wig and see if he could do Harry Potter. So we tested Tom as Harry Potter in that succession of screen tests, but we realized after the screen test we felt it was better for Draco Malfoy.
Out of the whole book, I'd rather to be Malfoy than anyone else, because it's
Almost there. Keep up the good work. Very well, my boy.
Stewed mandrake, which is quite a light version.
And Richard is what my godfather used to be his agent. He was his best friend. So Richard was a very significant part of my life growing up. And he was
granddaughter called me and said, Papa, she said, if you don't play Dumbledore, I will never speak to you. I said, I love the book, I love the script, it's beautifully written, beautifully done. I said, but you
We wanted somebody who would capture the spirit of Joe's writing. So I sent the book out to a few writers, but I had around 7 first editions of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which I sent out to many writers.
Each one of those books is worth like $25,000.
Toasted dragonfly thorax.
Book, and I'm getting paid anyway.
At the time, I suppose, he'd never written any family adventures, as it were. But he was a writer who I loved. And he was brilliant at adaptation.
Writing Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is probably the most challenging thing I've ever done. Because people are so familiar with the book and feel so connected to it that you don't want them to feel cheated.
Joe Rowling, Steve Clovis, David Hayden, and myself worked on that script together a lot.
We sat and went through the...
Very well, my boy.
And slowly the film Chris ultimately began to take shape.
Joe Rowling's probably been my greatest asset because from the beginning she was extremely supportive and understanding of what I was dealing with. And, over the course of about a year and a half, we emailed each other back and forth. She's made herself available, been extremely generous with her time and answering my questions. She's driven me crazy at times because since this is a series of books, a familiar refrain became, I can't tell you that because that's going to happen in book 7. But she would tell me when I was on the right path.
I think when we were making the first film, she showed us in manuscript form the 4th book. And she just, she gave it. I know she gave it to Steve, and Steve then took it on the plane. And you realised, oh my goodness, here I am carrying this.
Actually, sir, I'm just about to go for a walk down to Hagrid's.
He was really
I'm
nervous.
sorry, but I can't allow you to go off walking the castle grounds alone.
Hotel.
Well, by all means, come with me, sir.
And that's Chris on the phone back there, and that was the first. Yeah, that was the first. God, Steve does look younger, right? I'll show him this later on today. We're still working on the script for Harry 7 Part 2.
Harry.
I knew you'd
Harry
board.
Potter
Old
has his
Aragon.
In the first film, I
My
particularly
oldest
remember
friend,
the scene where Dan has to come up wanting access to his
Aragon?
vault, and
A giant spider.
Chris wanted Dan to kind of
mansion
chop.
that lived in the forest. Hagrid counted him as a friend, even though it tried to eat me.
But
He
Dan
was just
really
being
was not
friendly.
fazed by anything. So Chris said to me on the next take, when you lean over,
Hagrid, not to be indelicate, but acromancy of venom is very valuable. Would you mind if I extracted a vial or two? Then maybe spoke a few words over the deceased.
It did not have the desired effect at all. He just burst out.
I'll miss you, old friend.
Farewell, Aragorn, king of Arachnids. May your many-eyed descendants ever flourish. A toast
His mates look
to the
very
funeral
different as
of
the
a
bank
friend.
teller. Big
I'm
ears,
so sorry for your
nose,
loss,
spectacles,
Hagrid.
the teeth, contact lenses. So, as that character, there was nothing of Warwick left, and Nick Dudman and the makeup effects department took care of that.
The challenge on the Potter films at the
Do you know
beginning
why I
was very
survived?
definitely the goblins.
The night
The trouble with something like goblins,
Oh, don't,
most
my
of
boy.
the designs you
Your
look
mother.
at have been done.
Oh, she
and if
was
you say
one of
no,
my
it's got to look new,
absolute
you
favourites.
find the
She
avenues you're
sacrificed
going
herself
down
for
get
me,
narrower and narrower.
for everybody.
So in the
Professor,
end, we decided the
I'm
most
going to tell
important
you
thing was character.
It's true.
Make each of these
I
have
am
interesting
chosen.
character and
Only
goblinize
I
that
can
character.
But I need
So
your
that
memory
there
to
isn't
do
a
it.
set
I need that
look
memory
for
so my mother's sacrifice
and
wasn't
there's
for
a set
nothing.
look for human beings. We then decided we would do all the pieces
Yeah.
in silicon, but it was a bit of a
Don't think
gamble.
too badly of
Silicon
me.
at that point was still pretty iffy.
You don't know
and there
what
were
he
a lot
was
of
like.
questions about it.
Even then.
Technically, that I wasn't totally
I think
convinced by it.
Dumbledore will want to see you.
Now
Now
it's
you
very
have my
much
memory.
very straightforward and lovely. But this was one of the first occasions where we were using it. There were moments where we were going, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? But we cracked it and we learned a lot. I was very pleased with the way the goblins worked out because the way they were shot, the way the sequence was done, was very complementary to the work.
Hagrid?
worried. What exactly are these things?
Okay. So he says his line, you throw him in the cupboard, lock the door, and then you go down to that the bars. There's no such thing as magic through the bars, then you close it.
Chris Columbus was very interested in the idea of the misery of Harry's situation.
There's no such thing as magic.
The cupboard